At 9 is Tourism Week in Joplin. You're going to see how the city is helping people discover everything it has to offer.
The leak of an internal Supreme Court document on the future of Roe v. Wade rocks Capitol Hill. I'm Mallory Rivera outside of the Supreme Court with reaction from lawmakers. Coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Albee. A judge in Jasper County, Missouri sentences a man to multiple terms of life in prison for child sex crimes. Daniel Chavez was found guilty of 4 counts of statutory sodomy, 1 count of child molestation, 1 count of attempted statutory sodomy, and 2 counts of furnishing pornographic material to a minor. All 4 of the statutory sodomy charges carry a life sentence. The rest of the sentences will run concurrent to those sentences. In Ottawa County, Oklahoma, a man is sentenced for sexually abusing a minor. Authorities say back in 2020, 39-year-old Jeremy Lawhorn contacted the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office to report that he needed to confess a crime. Lawhorn admitted to inappropriately touching a 12-year-old. After a dispute over jurisdiction, he was federally indicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Indian country. This week, a federal judge sentenced Lawhorn to 30 months in prison, followed by 10 years of supervised release. Judge sentenced a Coffeyville, Kansas man to prison for a shooting death. Ruben Ruiz-Robles is sentenced to a maximum of 32 months for the April 2021 death of Chris Temple in Coffeyville. Part of a deal, Ruiz-Robles pled no contest to involuntary manslaughter in the case. The prosecutor dropped the original charge of first-degree murder after 2 key witnesses chose not to testify on the state's behalf. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now. First look at the forecast. Bit of a chilly day today, Nick.
Chilly but dry, even though we had all the cloud cover, Jordan. It's nice that we're getting some dry time before the rain chances start rolling right back in starting tomorrow. 47 was low this morning. The high of 61 was actually a midnight high, but once we got out of the 40s, most of us just gravitated toward middle to upper 50s for this afternoon. Cloudy, sure, but we're dry to start the late night hours out. But our next storm system building to the west and southwest, that's going to bring in more rain that we don't need, but it's rain on the way. Starting off as a few showers or scattered showers in our southern counties by morning with lows around 47. And despite rain chances on the increase during the day tomorrow, Jordan, we'll have highs a little bit better, right around 62. But we got days of rain in the forecast and severe threats to talk about too. We'll do that in a few.
Nick, thank you. As many of us know, there's a lot to do in Joplin and along Route 66. But this week, National Tourism Week, is a chance to highlight that, all the things to do for people not from the area. KOAM's Jalen Banks spoke with a group of tourists from the Czech Republic about their adventures.
This week marks the start of National Tourism Week. Here in the 4 states, we have an attraction that draws people from all over the world, that being historic Route 66. Today in Joplin, we had a group all the way from the Czech Republic.
Route 66 reaches across 8 different states over the span of 2,400 miles, and our group from the Czech Republic will be making that trek, starting in Illinois and ending in Santa Monica, California.
The tours are led by Zdeněk Jurásek, president of the Czech Republic Route 66 Association. He's made the journey 32 times, and back home he has a rock radio station that plays music inspired by the route.
We had a communism era, and we are not allowed to travel to the Western countries and to America, and we always wished to visit United States and especially Route 66, and a lot of people here are fulfilling their lifelong dream.
When I asked Zdeněk what his favorite site on Route 66 was, he cannot pick just one.
Oh, no. I have no favor on Route 66 because the favor is all Route 66 together. No place are. I cannot prefer any place. All is good together.
According to Patrick Tuttle, director of the Joplin Business Convention Bureau, pre-pandemic 12 to 15,000 tourists from Europe would visit Route 66. He's hoping to see those numbers again as we move past the pandemic. And along with that, our friends from the Czech Republic will too.
In Joplin, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
President of the Czech Route 66 Association is going to make the trip back across Route 66 later this month, starting in California and ending in Illinois. Staff members at Meadowlark Elementary in Pittsburgh showing their appreciation for one another. Now, one staff member came up with a game called Survivor. Teachers and staff play this week. Each day, staff members spin a wheel with different challenges on it, prizes. Those challenges include things like recreating pictures of animals, leaving a nice note for someone, or doing a dance.
It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and so I set up a survivor challenge for them where they can come in and spin the wheel, and there's a list of fortunes depending on where they land on the wheel. They get to do whatever the fortune is, and then they can earn points for it.
Grand prize is going to be handed out to the game's winner at the end of the week. Well, abortions are now banned in Oklahoma after a fetal heartbeat is detected. Governor Kevin Stitt today signed a Texas-style, as it's being known, abortion ban prohibiting abortions when a heartbeat is detected in the fetus. Experts say that's typically about 6 weeks into a pregnancy before some women know they are pregnant. Like the Texas law, it also allows private citizens to sue abortion providers or anyone who helps a woman obtain an abortion for up to $10,000. Reaction continues to pour in after the release of a document suggesting the U.S. Supreme Court would overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, a leak of this magnitude is rare. Lawmakers are demanding to know who's responsible, with some calling for criminal charges. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has more details from outside the Supreme Court.
Chief Justice John Roberts is directing the marshal of the court to begin an investigation and find out who is responsible.
This is an attack on the court.
A political earthquake erupting on Capitol Hill after Politico published an internal Supreme Court document showing a majority of justices are ready to overturn Roe v. Wade.
If this decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision.
Many Republicans believe the unprecedented leak is an attempt to intimidate the 9 justices.
This lawless action should be investigated and punished to the fullest extent possible.
Chief Justice John Roberts acknowledged the document is indeed real, calling the leak an egregious breach of trust and, quote, the work of the court will not be affected in any way.
That moment of truth is coming for whoever's the culprit here. They are very likely to be interviewed in a relatively short time.
As some Democrats condemn the leak, they also believe Republicans are trying to distract from the issue at hand.
Republicans are spending all their focus on the leak because they don't want to focus on Roe v. Wade, where they know they're on the wrong side of history and on the wrong side of the American people.
This was just a rough draft, of course, so there could be revisions before the High Court issues its final decision expected in the summer. Outside of the Supreme Court, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
The number of Americans quitting their jobs hit a record 4.5 million in March. This coming at a crucial time as the labor market remains tight and unfilled job openings from employers across the nation. There's plenty of those. Fox Business Network's Connell McShane has this story now from New York City.
New data released Tuesday from the Labor Department shows job openings have hit record levels despite a slowdown in the economy. Employers reported a record 11.5 million unfilled job openings in the month of March. Now, this means there are nearly 2 job openings for every person who's unemployed in the U.S. Economists expect this trend to rise in the future.
I was in the airport again last night, just sitting on the tarmac because they don't have enough people to unload the planes.
The record number of job postings comes as more Americans quit their jobs. That's a trend that we've seen since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. The Bureau of Labor Statistics revealing that 4.5 million Americans, or 3% of the workforce, called it quits during the month of March. Many of these workers are quitting their jobs in favor of improved working conditions and better wages. As a result, employers now are feeling the pressure to fill these positions by offering higher salaries in an already tight labor market.
It's really easy to shut a country or a world down. It's really hard to open it back up. So when we're doing that, all this dislocation takes a while to settle out. I don't call it the Great Resignation. It's more of a great reassessment.
We have a red hot labor market.
Yeah.
We have a shortage. That's part of that supply chain situation.
The April jobs report is due out this Friday, shedding some light on the labor market and the status of the COVID-19 economic recovery. In New York, Connell McShane, Fox Business.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another Force Day hero. William Muntz served in the U.S. Navy from 1975 to 1980, and we are proud to thank and salute William Muntz, native of Parsons, Kansas. He's tonight's Four-State hero. Nick Kelly's next with a complete look at the forecast, and later, a Pitt State wide receiver earning a shot at the NFL with his hometown team. We're going to have those details in sports.
Even though we didn't have much to track today, we got quite a bit on our plate as we go through the next few days at the very least. But let's talk about where we've been throughout the course of our Tuesday so far. Compared to yesterday, we did have temperatures at the very least pushing to the mid to upper 60s yesterday. Then after midnight highs in the lower 60s, we dropped into the upper 40s this morning. And thanks to stubborn cloud cover, we were dry, but it was mainly chilly, with most of us in the middle to upper 50s. Even though we were dry today, more rain eager to roll back in starting tomorrow, but we're still looking dry right now from 7th and Range Line 54 and Joplin with mostly clear skies up top. A light east breeze, pretty much at 6 miles per hour, but that humidity, you saw that really start to climb back up, sitting at 75% right now. We've got some lower 50s around Stockton Lake and Table Rock Lake, mid 50s across the central parts of the region, and still some upper 50s out to the west trying to hold on. But eventually we're going to drop back into the upper 40s for another bit of a cool start for our Wednesday. Even though we're cloudy up top, nothing on the radar network for now, and we're just taking any drive time that we can get because the rain amounts based on radar estimates since Friday, averaging out to 2.3 inches with the big bullseye of the most rain in southwestern Missouri. But here's the next problem. More rain's on the way. That's why we have a lot of the region under a flood watch until 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon. All because of our next storm system on the way in. We got the warm front to the south and west. That's going to come in first during the day and evening tomorrow. Then we got to deal with the cold front at the surface on Thursday, all driven by this upper level low. That's going to keep the bulk of the rain chances around for the next couple days. So let's just take this one day at a time with this close-up look at the future track forecast. Starting with tonight, we're dry to start the overnight out. Maybe some pockets of clearing dropping us back into the mid to upper 40s, but once we get closer to the morning drive, we'll know some scattered showers developing from south heading north. Then we'll get periods of rain and thunderstorms working into the region during a good portion of the day. But despite that, I do think some dry time will allow temperatures to go from 47 in the morning in Joplin, 55 by noon. And I think we should do a little better with temperatures, right around 62. Depending on how long the rain sticks around, how unstable we can get for tomorrow evening, and how fast the warm front from the south works in, we'll have to keep an eye on this eventual complex of thunderstorms coming at us from the west and southwest from 7 o'clock. Going into the overnight hours until 3 a.m. because some of those could pack a low severe threat. It's mainly impacting just our northeastern Oklahoma counties. But again, from 7 o'clock in the evening until 3 a.m. Thursday, that's at least a low severe threat with mainly wind, hail, and heavy rain being the biggest issues. We'll get a bit of a chance to dry out Thursday morning, but then Thursday afternoon, we'll have to deal with the cold front, some scattered showers and storms, maybe an eventual line of storms, but that could be another severe threat that we'll have more details on in the next half hour. But this storm system alone, after it clears out by Friday, could be behind anywhere between 1 and up to 4 inches of rain. All the more reason why those flood watches are out across much of the area. So because of the severe potentials, Wednesday and Thursday, both will be alert days, but I'm still thinking 62 tomorrow, 71 Thursday. After the morning rain, Jordan, on Friday, we're drying out, topping out at 67, 79 Saturday, 85 for Mother's Day, and then, sticking with Doug's pattern, another severe threat by Tuesday.
Like you said, what we don't need is rain.
Yeah, it's just one of the many things we'll be keeping a close eye on for the next few days.
Hey, Kelly, thank you. See you in a little bit. Coming up, living with war.
Dozens of Ukrainian citizens who were trapped in the besieged city of Mariupol reached safety. I'm Trey Yingst in Kyiv, Ukraine. I've got the details coming up.
First, here's a look at our tower camera, sponsored by R.E. Smith Construction, as work continues on the KOAM More Power project. Check it out anytime on our website, koamnewsnow.com/power. Russian forces stormed a steel plant in Ukraine. Dozens of citizens who were evacuated reached safety Tuesday. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst has more.
President Biden visiting one of the world's largest military and aerospace companies in Troy, Alabama today. The Lockheed Martin facility produces Javelin anti-tank missiles that have been key to Ukraine's defense.
The United States is leading our allies and partners around the world to make sure the courageous Ukrainians who are fighting for the future of their nation have the weapons and the capacity and ammunition and equipment.
The U.S. has delivered more than 5,000 of those weapons to Ukraine since Russia's invasion began. Meanwhile, the UN says dozens of people have been evacuated from a besieged steel factory in Mariupol. The city's mayor adds more than 200 civilians remain inside. According to Ukrainian fighters, Russian forces have started to storm the plant, mounting an assault with armored vehicles and tanks. Civilians who were evacuated arrived in the Ukrainian-controlled city of Zaporizhzhia today. Medical teams were on standby, ready to treat people suffering from burns and malnutrition.
You can't imagine how scary it is when you sit in the shelter, which is bouncing, shaking.
Ukraine's military continues to be supported by Western military aid. Today, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson spoke to Ukraine's parliament, announcing an additional $375 million in radar, drones, and armored vehicles.
This is Ukraine's finest hour, that will be remembered and recounted for generations to come.
The UK says Russia's military appears significantly weaker after suffering losses in this war. In Kyiv, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Still ahead, going to learn about a new drug that surgeons say better helps them find hidden ovarian cancer tumors. A new imaging drug is helping surgeons find hidden ovarian cancer tumors. It's an IV injection that makes ovarian cancer cells glow under a special camera. Fox's Catherine Hawley has more on how this works.
Dr. Rob Wenham is the chair of Moffitt's Gynecologic Oncology program. He says this new drug is a game changer for the way ovarian cancer is detected.
It's probably the biggest step forward in the surgical management of ovarian cancer since our field was created.
That's because the diagnostic agent is helping surgeons see cancerous cells and tumors that may otherwise go undiscovered.
This is our normal view of surgery, and you might look and say, I don't really see any tumor there. And that's
Cytolux is injected prior to surgery. The fluorescent dye targets a molecule found on most ovarian cancer cells, causing them to light up.
You can see the tumors glowing red hot for us, which lets us know that that's an area of more intense disease.
A special near-infrared camera is used, helping surgeons remove more of the tumor and leading to better disease survival rates.
So by going a step further, we are detecting disease in about a third of women that we would have not known about unless we had this technology.
Moffitt took part in the Phase 2 and Phase 3 clinical studies for Cytolux and played a role in the drug's approval. According to the American Cancer Society, nearly 20,000 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer for the first time this year here in the States. And for most of them, surgery is the recommended course of action to remove all visible cancer lesions.
This surgery is going to be really taking it down to the finest level we can get it, to leaving the fewest cancer cells behind.
All right, so take a good look at this picture. What you see or how you analyze it apparently says something about you. More on this next. You're watching Therapy Hour on Fox 14 News at 9. What is the first thing you see in this picture? The answer may say a lot about your personality. The video created by The Bright Side and shared on YouTube sparked a personality test. The narrator says, those viewers who first saw a woman with dark hair have keen observational abilities and focus on details. It means you're likely a withdrawn individual, those who mostly keep to themselves on social occasions. Now, people who see a face with a wide chin are focused on the overall picture and less on details, and are outgoing in social settings and enjoy spending time with others. Nick Kelly, you saw a face first. I'm more of a mix of both. Yeah, I was going to say too, so I first saw a woman, but Lord knows, I mean, I have to be focused on details for work, at work, but Lord knows, when I'm away from work, I have problems with names, stuff like that, so. Therapy Hour, Fox 14 News at 9. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Special show that aired here on KOAM, started in the 1950s, recognized by many of you, is regionally recognized.
The leaked Supreme Court draft opinion that could fundamentally change abortion rights and have a fundamental impact on the 2022 midterm elections. I'm Lauren Blanchard outside the Supreme Court. I'll have the latest details coming up.
Piece of four-state TV history is going to be forever remembered at Missouri Southern. The university's Regional Broadcasting Hall of Fame tonight inducted the program Melody Matinee. Melody Matinee aired for more than 30 years on KOAM TV. It featured a long list of musical performers who became local legends. Dale Switzer, who produced our recent documentary on the program, says Melody Matinee and its host, Lou Martin, captured the spirit of the four states.
I was a director on the show, one of many, probably directed somewhere between 300 and 500 episodes of it. But I made no contribution really to the content of the show. The basic idea was to keep the camera pointed in the right direction most to the top and preside over the madness.
You made many contributions, Mr. Switzer. But Carol Stark was also inducted into the Broadcast Hall of Fame tonight. Stark was the executive editor of the Joplin Globe until her death in 2019. McDonald County Elementary School is working to increase enrollment of preschoolers and kindergarten-aged children. White Rock Elementary in Pineville says kindergarten enrollment is down this year compared to most years. Well, now teachers are reaching out to parents of young kids to make sure their students are enrolled. School officials say it's important to know class sizes early so educators can plan ahead.
For kindergarten, it's important to know those numbers in the spring so that we can plan for class sizes and the number of classes that we need in the fall. It also gives parents the opportunity to meet the teachers before school starts in the fall so that they have a face to a name when they maybe see a welcome postcard in the mail over the summer.
Experts also say kids in early childhood education programs usually have improved social skills and do better in school. Amazon is going to close 6 of its Whole Foods Market stores in the United States. The impacted stores are located in Montgomery and Mobile, Alabama, Tarzana, California, the Inglewood and DePaul neighborhoods of Chicago, Brookline, Massachusetts. The Inglewood location is expected to close in the coming months, while the other 5 stores are expected to close by May 6th. The spokesperson for Whole Foods did not tell Fox Business the total number of employees that would be impacted by the closures. The company has more than 530 Whole Foods locations nationwide. Speaking of food, new research shows a link between food marketing and increases in food intake, choices, preferences, and requests for purchases in children and adolescents. The analysis of 96 studies is published in JAMA Pediatrics. The authors of the studies say the findings support policies to limit children's exposure to marketing. Shockwaves following the leak of the Supreme Court draft opinion that could ultimately overturn Roe v. Wade. The reaction and prospect of a world without federal abortion rights prompting lawmakers from the halls of Congress to candidates on the campaign trail to take a stand. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is outside the Supreme Court with this story.
The elections this November will have consequences, because the rights of 100 million women are now on the ballot.
The leaked Supreme Court draft opinion that rocked Washington is sending shockwaves to the campaign trail, the midterm elections just 6 months away. Republicans have been hoping to make big gains in the House and Senate. However, now the ruling is expected to fire up Democratic voters.
But I think the person who leaked this disagreed with the draft opinion and leaked it for political reasons and try to help my Democratic colleagues in the midterm elections.
The president staying tight-lipped on what it could mean for November.
What does this mean for the Democrats' argument in the midterm?
I haven't thought that through yet.
The final ruling is expected sometime in June or July. If the justices make the draft opinion official, abortion rights would no longer be a federal issue. Instead, each state would be able to make their own laws. Both sides are hoping the issue will push voters to the polls.
I'll support the candidates who are pro-choice.
I very much support right-to-life groups and groups that are legislatively focused to help to bring more pro-life legislators into place.
I think it's going to be a wash. I think that the pro-choice community is going to get energized more than usual because they're going to say, see, we told you, we told you.
Abortion appears again to be not only a way to turn out voters to the polls, but also get them to open their checkbooks. Already multiple campaigns as well as political groups are fundraising off the news. Outside the Supreme Court, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Some American Airlines customers may be hopping on a bus instead of an airplane for their connecting flights starting June 3rd. Look at that. Bus company Landline is going to be transporting customers from regional airports in Allentown, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and Atlantic City, New Jersey, to the carrier's Philadelphia hub. Customers are going to still check in with American Airlines and pass through security at the airport. They'll then board a Landline bus to Philly International Airport. When they arrive back in Philly, they're going to be bused back to their regional airports, which are roughly an hour away. The carrier says luggage will be, quote, seamlessly transferred between the Landline bus and American's aircraft. Sheriff of an Alabama county where an inmate escaped with the help of a prison guard says his entire community is in shock as a nationwide manhunt ramps up. Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan has more from Atlanta.
My career spanned 50 years and I've never had anything like this to deal with.
It's a big shock to a small town in Alabama. This man, convicted criminal Casey White, breaking out of prison allegedly with the help of a corrections officer. Vicky White, no relation, is now wanted by law enforcement and considered armed and dangerous. Police in Florence, Alabama say the investigation is still in its early stages, but there are indications that Vicky and Casey developed some sort of personal relationship. And on Friday, she falsely claimed she was taking him to a mental health checkup at a courthouse. Less than 8 minutes later, the vehicle she was driving pulled into a parking lot, and the two have not been seen since.
When she got to the red light to turn left to go to the courthouse or turn right to go to the parking lot, she turned right. So that just tells us that you know, I mean, he didn't have time in one block to commandeer the car.
But there were no signs Vicky White was planning anything illegal. She was voted Officer of the Year 4 times at the Lauderdale County Detention Center, where she worked for 17 years. Friday was supposed to be her last day. She sold her house and talked about spending time at the beach. All signs, her family says, that she was coerced by Casey White.
I doubt she's ever even had a speeding ticket. But I mean, she's always been what I'd say a good person. And like I say, this is all a shock.
The U.S. Marshals and the FBI are involved in the manhunt. In Atlanta, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
A bit later, dangerously dry conditions.
Wildfires and drought continuing to carve a devastating swath across the western U.S. I'm Kevin Cork with a look at all the destruction coming right up.
A lot of cloudy skies for today, but at least we kept things dry. But it certainly felt like a chilly May day compared to normal May standards. We had lower 40s this morning, midnight highs around 61, but then temperatures just topping out in the 50s and holding steady throughout much of the day. Still at 54 and dropping with mostly cloudy skies up top. East breeze at about 6 miles per hour and that humidity climbing up at 75%. We have lower to middle 50s across much of the region. But once you hop west of 69 or even west of 59, that's where we're trying to see some mid to upper 50s. Still trying to hold on, but we're all going to drop back into the upper 40s before we try to trend a little warmer for tomorrow. Cloudy up top, but there's nothing on the radar right now. We've enjoyed a chance to dry out after several days of heavy rainfall, but the problem is more is on the way, and that's why these flood watches are up for a good chunk of the area, pretty much the entire area, until 1 o'clock going into Thursday afternoon. Thankfully, that system isn't quite here yet. We have a lot of clouds, but no rain over the next few hours at the very least. But here at the surface, here's our warm front ready to come in from the southwest. We've got a cold front that'll come into play by Thursday. And then upstairs, there's this upper level low coming out of Utah. All of those features coming into play as we go through the next few days alone. So let's just go ahead and time that out. We're dry late tonight and to begin the overnight, but as our next warm front and upper level energy out west comes in, we'll watch for some scattered showers developing in our southern parts of the viewing area and lifting from south to north going throughout the morning hours, morning lows in the upper 40s. Then as that warm front continues to edge closer, we'll see more bands of periods of rain and thunderstorms overtake the area throughout parts of the day. But any dry time that we can get, I do think we can go from 47 in the morning to 55 at noon and highs around 62. If we can hold on to these rain chances throughout much of the day, that may prevent the atmosphere from destabilizing, but if it can clear out fast enough and some destabilization occurs as the next warm front edges closer than the last time around, we're going to have to keep an eye on this complex of storms that'll be working through northeast Oklahoma at the very least and stretching into our corner of Kansas and plowing through the rest of the area, going through the overnight. And that is certainly going to be a severe threat, mainly a low severe threat. And you can see how it impacts mainly northeastern parts of Oklahoma. But in general, let's keep an eye on those storm chances from 7 o'clock tomorrow evening to 3 a.m. Thursday. Wind, hail, and rain. That's our biggest issues. Then we go into Thursday morning. We'll get a chance to dry out by the morning drive going into the afternoon. But then by 4 o'clock, the cold front comes in. We've got shower and thunderstorm chances with that. And that could be another severe threat that we'll have to keep an eye on. That go around will be from 4 o'clock Thursday afternoon to 10 o'clock Thursday night. Low tornado threat, but more chances for wind, hail, and heavy rain. And speaking of that rain, by the time this clears out Friday morning, we could be looking at totals between 1 to 4 inches of rain on top of already saturated ground. So That is not news many of us want to hear, but it's something we'll keep a very close eye on for the next few days. So the alert days are up because of our potential for severe weather Wednesday evening and again on Thursday afternoon. 62 tomorrow, 71 on Thursday. At least we're going to dry out a little bit for the weekend, Jordan.
Rain, and more rain. Nick Kelly, thank you so much. All right, coming up in sports, Pitt State wide receiver aiming to earn a roster spot in the NFL. Plus, Missouri Southern softball preparing for a tough matchup in the first round of the MIAA tournament. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Well, Pittsburgh State wide receiver Jalen Martin has earned his shot at the NFL. And Martin has been invited to rookie minicamp for his hometown Detroit Lions. Martin played one full season at Pittsburgh State, played all 11 games last fall, racking up 832 yards and 5 touchdowns, earning second-team All-MIAA recognition. After not hearing his name in the draft over the weekend, Martin ready to get to camp and show that he deserves a spot on the field on Sundays.
I feel like I'm walking in there with everything to prove. I'm walking there like I belong there for starters, because that's just the mindset that I have. And ultimately, I just want to continue to let everybody know who Jalen Martin is. I've only had one full season and 4 games to really prove to myself and to prove to the people who've always believed in me that, you know, I can do whatever I want to do as long as I stick to my basic fundamentals of hunger, grit, work ethic, and having a great support system. So I'm walking in there with everything to prove.
The Joplin Eagles have just 1 week left in the baseball regular season. That's a busy week with 5 games on their schedule between now and next Tuesday. Now, the first of those is tonight facing Carl Junction. First batter of the game, Kyler Perry, pitching for CJ. Gets the strikeout. Joplin, though, gets 2 in the inning. And then they break the game wide open in the second. Second inning here, Ethan Guilford shoots it back up the middle. That brings Bodie Carlson home from second. Then later in the inning, first and third for Justin McReynolds. It's a laser in the gap in right center. That's all the way to the wall. Byler Reether scores. Ethan Guilford scores all the way from first. McReynolds in there for the triple. 8 runs in the first 2 innings today for Joplin. Eagles roll by Carl Junction 9-2. Staying in southwest Missouri, big one here in the Big 8. McDonald County faces Nevada this evening, with the winner earning the Big 8 West title. And the Mustangs win a good one, 2-0. So McDonald County wins the Big 8 West and will play for the overall Big 8 league title. The Missouri Southern Lions are back in the MIAA softball tournament. The Lions are the 6th seed in the bracket and will open up the tournament against Rogers State on Thursday. And Rogers State, one of the best in the nation. Hillcats head into the tournament ranked 6th in the country. And they swept Missouri Southern in the regular season, 1-0 and 6-3. The Lions, though, are ready for another shot at them and are embracing the underdog mentality.
I always view us as the underdogs, so I like it. We could be the 8 going into the 1. I don't care. I view us always as the underdog. You know, having last year's that experience going to Oklahoma City, playing there, getting that under our belt, I'm really hoping that pays off this week.
We got a good chance to see their pitcher and see what we need to do better at the plate to have a better approach against her. And I think we threw really well against them, had a great defense, and I think we just need to pick it up on the offensive side and we'll be good.
The Kansas City Royals and St. Louis Cardinals are scheduled to meet 4 times this season. They've already played twice, with the Cardinals winning both in St. Louis. And the series shifts now to Kansas City with Game 1 tonight. Right now it's all Royals 7-0 in the top of the 8th. Bobby Witt Jr. 2 for 3 on the night with his first career home run. That's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
Roughly a dozen wildfires currently burning across the western United States, but none are proving as catastrophic as the one in New Mexico, where officials there say more than 300 homes and structures have been since destroyed. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork has more on why conditions may only get worse, plus a look at the extensive drought impacting California and more than a dozen other states.
Strong winds and extensive drought worsening wildfire conditions in New Mexico, where as of Monday night, the nation's largest blaze continued gaining traction after already decimating more than 121,000 acres in the northern part of the state and forcing additional evacuations.
I think we've come to terms with the fact that everything we have built here is probably gone. So we're just focused on getting our animals and getting ourselves and our important stuff out.
Towering plumes of smoke settling over communities in Las Vegas, New Mexico. A real worrying sign as the flames creep ever closer to more tightly packed residential areas.
The smoke in the valley was so thick, you needed a butter knife to cut through it. So it came on really fast.
Meanwhile, water shortages also causing major concerns in California as the Golden State shrivels up.
We don't think we have the supply to really last us for the next year, and we need to take action now.
Officials issuing water restrictions set to take place next month, pleading with roughly 6 million residents in Southern California to reduce their water usage by some 35%, citing depleting snowpacks in the mountains, which usually melt and then turn into usable water.
We may get to a day when you can turn the tap and there's no water coming out.
According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, California and New Mexico aren't alone. There are water shortages all over the country, impacting more than a dozen other states, including Texas, Nevada, Idaho, and Oregon. I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Got a new trailer for a psychological thriller, Hollywood Nation, coming your way. An animated comedy returns for more fun. First look at a star-studded thriller and more. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin brings us the entertainment news now with Hollywood Nation.
What are we doing?
Changing the world. Wild's wild first look, the brothers are back, and music stars talk movies in the Hollywood Nation. Tribeca Film Festival 2022 announced this year's talks and reunions lineup. Among those joining are Taylor Swift for her short film All Too Well, plus Pharrell Williams, Cynthia Erivo, and on the reunion side, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in a moderated discussion for Heat. The festival runs June 8th through the 19th.
Hey, it's the Freak Dude!
Tubi's The Freak Brothers has been renewed for season 2. It's the first original animated series on Fox's free streaming service and the streamer's first ever series renewal. Famous voice stars in the cast include Woody Harrelson, John Goodman, Pete Davidson, and Tiffany Haddish. Season 2 premieres December 2022.
Do you even know what the Victory Project actually is? Have you ever asked?
Do you?
And in today's first looks, an eerie trailer for the psychological thriller Don't Worry Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde. Wilde also co-stars in the cast, which includes Florence Pugh and Harry Styles as Alice and Jack. The story is set in an experimental town in the 1950s named Victory, where the husbands run a top-secret project, and something sinister begins to be revealed when Alice starts asking questions. Don't Worry Darling is in theaters September 23rd.
They're lying about everything.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you tonight with video of a seal checking out a potted plant at a zoo in Des Moines, Iowa. Pretty purty, isn't it, Mr. Seal? Hey, be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.